Someone told you that you were too much, too emotional, too needy, too intense. And somewhere along the way, you believed them. You started shrinking yourself. You learned to apologize for having feelings. You got quieter when you wanted to scream. You pulled back when you wanted to reach out. You kept asking yourself, why can't I just be easier to love? Here's what no one told you. The problem was never your depth. The problem was a container. You were ocean-sized, and they handed you a cup. This video is for everyone who has been slowly convinced that loving fully, feeling deeply, and wanting real connection is somehow a character flaw. It is not. And by the end of this, you're going to understand exactly why and what to do about it. Let me describe your life for a second. You're someone who cares deeply. When you love someone, you love them with everything. You notice small things, the way their voice changes when they're tired, the specific topic that lights them up, the look they get when something's bothering them but they won't say it. You pay attention. You show up. You remember. And yet, somehow, in relationship after relationship, you end up feeling like a burden. They get overwhelmed by your emotions. They pull away when you want to connect. They tell you you're reading too much into things. They make you feel like wanting more communication, more presence, more honesty is somehow high maintenance. So you start monitoring yourself. You draft texts and delete them. You wait a day before saying what you really feel because you don't want to seem too much. You become a walking apology for your own existence in their life. Story, picture this. You've had a hard day, not catastrophic, just genuinely hard. And you want to tell your partner about it. Not for solutions, just to be heard. But before you even finish the first sentence, you see it. That subtle shift in their expression, the slight tension, the way they glance at their phone. And suddenly you feel it. I'm a lot right now. So you wrap it up. Never mind, I'm fine. And you go to bed feeling lonelier than if you'd been alone. That moment, that exact moment of swallowing yourself, is a thing I want to talk about today. Because you didn't learn to do that in a vacuum. You learned it in a specific relationship with a specific person who had a specific capacity for emotional intimacy. And that capacity had nothing to do with your worth. Have you ever caught yourself minimizing your feelings to make someone else comfortable? Drop a yes in the comments. I want to know how many of us have been there. The cruelest part of all of this is that the more you shrink, the more it confirms a belief. You become anxious. You become hypervigilant. You start chasing reassurance. And then they call you clingy, not knowing they created the very behavior they're criticizing. You are not too much. You are just not being met. Here's what's actually happening in your brain when this plays out, and this part is important, so stay with me. When we experience emotional rejection, even subtle, chronic, low-level rejection, the brain doesn't distinguish it much from physical pain. Neuroscientist Naomi Eisenberger at UCLA found that social exclusion activates the same neural pathways as a physical injury. Your brain treats being emotionally dismissed as a threat to survival. That's not drama. That's neuroscience. So when the person you love pulls away every time you have a feeling, your nervous system learns. Feelings equals danger. And it starts doing what nervous systems do with danger. It tries to prevent it. You suppress. You monitor. You manage. Here's the counterintuitive piece. The more emotionally intelligent you are, the more sensitive your social threat detection system is. Meaning the very people who feel things most deeply are the ones most likely to develop this pattern of self-suppression. Your emotional sensitivity is not a weakness. It's a feature your nervous system turned against you in the wrong environment. The most sensitive people are the most vulnerable to the effects of poor emotional environments, but also the most capable of healing and flourishing in supportive ones. Dr. Elaine Aron, the highly sensitive person. This is also why you can feel completely different in different relationships. You probably had at least one friendship, maybe one past relationship, where you didn't feel like too much at all, where your feelings were met with curiosity instead of withdrawal, where you said the intense thing, and the other person just leaned in. That wasn't a coincidence. That was compatibility. That was a nervous system meeting another nervous system with the right capacity. There are 3 stories about love that have been quietly wrecking people for decades. Let's kill them right now. The lie number 1. If someone really loves you, they'll handle all of you. The truth, love is not sufficient. Capacity is required. Someone can genuinely love you and still be emotionally incapable of holding space for you. Those two things can coexist. A person can care about you deeply and still not be the right person to build a life with. Love without capacity just creates two people who are confused and in pain. The lie number 2, wanting consistent communication and emotional presence means you're needy. The truth, wanting secure, consistent connection is not neediness. It is a fundamental human requirement. Psychologist John Bowlby, who founded attachment theory, spent decades establishing that the need for emotional connection is biological. You did not evolve to be self-sufficient in love. Calling this need needy is like calling hunger greedy. It's just a need and it deserves to be met. Dependency is not pathology. The need to rely on another person is a healthy part of what it means to be human. Dr. Sue Johnson, hold me tight. The lie number 3, if you just communicated better, it would work. The truth, communication is a skill and it matters. But two people can communicate perfectly clearly and still be fundamentally incompatible. You can explain exactly what you need, precisely and calmly and without blame, and the other person can hear every word and simply not want to or be able to give it to you. Communication doesn't create compatibility. It just reveals whether it's there. There's a concept that explains so much of this pattern, and once you understand it, you can't unsee it. It's called anxious avoidant attachment dynamics, and it's one of the most researched patterns in relationship psychology. Here's the short version. Based on your early experiences of getting your emotional needs met or not met as a child, you develop an attachment style. Some people develop a secure attachment. They generally feel safe in relationships. They can ask for what they need, and they don't spiral when there's conflict. But many people develop what's called an anxious attachment style. They love deeply. They feel things intensely. They crave closeness. And they also live with a low-level fear that the people they love will eventually leave or reject them. This fear makes them hyper-aware of any signals of emotional distance. Now here's where it gets important. Anxiously attached people have an eerie way of finding avoidantly attached partners. Avoidant people, those who learned early that emotional closeness was unsafe or uncomfortable, tend to pull away when relationships get intense. And the more an anxiously attached person chases, the more the avoidant retreats. The more the avoidant retreats, the more anxious the other person becomes. It's a feedback loop, and both people end up confirming their worst fears about love. Pause moment. I want you to pause here. Think about your last significant relationship. Which pattern sounds more like you, the one who chased or the one who pulled away? There's no judgment in either answer. Just notice. The reason this matters is that the anxious person in this dynamic almost always walks away believing they're the problem. They were too emotional, too intense, too clingy. But they weren't experiencing a character flaw. They were experiencing a biological response to feeling emotionally unsafe with someone who could not or would not provide security. We are not the sum of our neuroses. We are the sum of our unmet needs. Dr. Gabor Mate, in the realm of hungry ghosts. Here's something you can actually use. I call it the MEAT framework, a 4-step tool for evaluating whether someone has a capacity to truly be with you. Screenshot this. Write it down. Come back to it. Step 1. M. Mirrors your emotions. Does this person reflect your feelings back to you with curiosity? When you say, I've been feeling anxious about us, do they ask why and listen? Or do they get defensive, dismiss it, or make you feel irrational for having the feeling at all? A person with real emotional capacity doesn't need your feelings to go away. They can sit with discomfort. Watch for this early. Step 2. E. Engages in repair. Every relationship has conflict. The question is whether someone can repair after it. Can they come back and say, I was wrong, or I could have handled that better? Can they hold accountability without collapsing into shame or turning it back on you? Repair is not optional in a healthy relationship. It is a relationship. Step 3. E. Expresses vulnerability. Does this person ever let you in? Do they share fears, doubts, moments of uncertainty? Or do they always present a perfectly controlled front? Someone who cannot be vulnerable with you cannot meet you in vulnerability. You will always be the one bleeding in the room alone. Step 4. T. Tolerate your full self, not your good days. Not your composed, filtered, I have it together self. Your full self. The anxious 2 a.m. text version. The crying about something small version. The angry and struggling and messy version. Do they stay? Do they get curious? Or do they punish you for being human? Someone who can only love the curated version of you is not loving you. They're loving your performance. Comment prompt. Which of these 4 mirror, engage, express, tolerate? Do you think you've struggled most to find in past relationships? Tell me in the comments. 3 shifts, all of them hard, all of them necessary. Shift 1. Old thought. I need to become less intense, so I stop pushing people away. New thought. I need to find someone who is drawn to my depth, not drained by it. The goal is not self-erasure. The goal is right fit. Turning down your volume doesn't make you compatible with someone who prefers silence. It just makes you a quieter version of someone who is wrong for them. Your intensity is not the problem. The audience is. Shift 2. Old thought. If they can't handle me, maybe something is genuinely wrong with me. New thought. Their limited capacity says nothing about my worth. This is perhaps the most important reframe in this entire video. A container that overflows is not the problem. The container is. You would not look at the ocean and say, the ocean is wrong for being this vast. You would recognize that not everything can hold it. Not every person is built to hold you. That is not your failure. The curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change. Carl Rogers on Becoming a Person. Shift 3. Old thought. I've been in so many relationships like this. Maybe this is just my pattern forever. New thought. My pattern is a response to my history, not a sentence of my future. Attachment patterns are not permanent. They are learned responses that can be unlearned with the right experiences, including therapy, self-awareness, and yes, relationships with people who have actual capacity. Your nervous system learned to be anxious in environments that were unsafe. It can learn to feel secure in environments that are. You came into this world knowing how to want. You wanted warmth, connection, presence, to be truly known by another person. And that is not a deficiency. That is the most deeply human thing about you. What happened next? The shrinking, the apologizing, the question marks you put on your own worth, that was a response to being in spaces that could not hold you. It was adaptation, not identity. And adaptation can change. The right person does not make you feel like you are too much. The right person makes you feel like your depth finally has somewhere to go. They don't exhaust you with their emotional distance. They don't make you feel like wanting love is an inconvenience. They lean in. They stay curious. They come back after conflict. They choose you, not a smaller, quieter, more convenient version of you. You, that person exists. And the path to them is not through making yourself easier to love. It's through getting honest about what you actually need and refusing to settle for less. You are not too much. You never were. You were just in the wrong room. If this hit differently than you expected, I make videos on the psychology of love, patterns, and what it actually takes to feel seen by another person. New video every week.